Hello, Cat Learners. Thank you for joining us. You've got Dylan and Jenny in studio, and we're going to talk a little bit about some aspects relating to social media. Now, whether you're talking about Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Pinterest, it doesn't matter what social application, we need to protect our privacy and our dignity.
Yes.
What do you advise?
I advise, I guess, taking the long view. It might seem like a good idea in the moment to post that picture of you lying drunk next to the pool or whatever it might be, or saying that horrible thing. But just take a step back and realize that what you post online, once it's online, you kind of lose control of it. You may take that picture down, but who knows who else is linked to a copy of that picture and where else that picture or that statement is floating around. So really, once it's online, your control is drastically reduced. So just be aware and think 2 or 3 steps ahead. There are many stories of people going for job interviews and not getting the job interview because of a silly random Facebook post they made 5 years ago. There are people who actually got fired because of something they said on social media. I know one story of one programmer who wrote on his Facebook post, "Apple sucks."
No.
And guess who he worked for?
Should you be repeating this?
He worked for Apple.
Oh.
Now, he just didn't put 2 and 2 together and figure out that someone was going to read his post and report back to somebody at Apple, and he lost his job.
But surely he must be able to set his access on Facebook.
He can, certainly he can set and say, well, that this is only for my friends, or set who gets to read this. But the thing about social media is that it's social. And I can share something with you, and I can think I trust you, or think that my trust in you is valid, but it doesn't mean that you can't share it or repeat it further afield. And that's why I say once it's online, you do sort of lose control with what you have put out
Are
there.
you talking generally? You're talking Facebook, Twitter, whatever else you want to...
Especially a platform like Twitter, because with one button I can retweet your Twitter statement. And so you might say something on Twitter and want to take it back, but once it's been retweeted, it's been retweeted, and there's nothing you can really do. So I guess it's about being responsible and thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead. You know, how is this going to impact on other people? And how is this going to impact on me in the future?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do you think that users of social media know enough about how to actually set their access limits and how to set who may see this, who may access it?
I would suspect not enough people know enough about it. I know that Facebook's privacy control settings are infamously complicated. They are making good strides in simplifying those, but they are still pretty complicated. And unless you know exactly what you're doing, it is still possible for you to set the settings in a way that's going to just leave you a little bit more open to exposure than you need to be. But my advice would certainly be to go and find out as much as you can about the privacy settings of all of these social tools. Google Plus does one of the best jobs in terms of giving you the ability to create what they call circles, and being able to share specific things into specific circles only. Whereas Facebook doesn't really do that. It's kind of a one-size-fits-all approach. Maybe they'll get to the circle idea. I'm not sure. But I think the bottom line is always just to be aware and to go and make sure that your privacy settings are exactly what you want them to be.
I think it sounds like everybody needs to do quite a bit of research, whether you're using LinkedIn, Pinterest, Twitter, it doesn't matter what you're using. Try and find out as much as you possibly can before you go and post a whole lot of things that you might regret later.
You might regret later, yes.
Let's not only talk about negative things, though. There must be some positive aspects to being socially connected?
Oh, huge positive aspects. Being able to be connected with other people is probably one of the most intrinsic human drives that we have. We just as a species want to connect with other people. And suddenly now with technology and the social applications that are available, we can do this. And we can do it more widely and more easily than we've ever been able to do. So not just from a social perspective, but from a networking business perspective, we can meet people, we can find other people's ideas more easily than we've ever been able to. We can learn from other people more easily than we've ever been able to. So as many negative possibilities as there may be, there are just so many positives to being able to connect with other people and have, in some cases, really good relationships with them in this online space. I know in my work that I've built an entire website without ever meeting the team of developers, because we were able to connect socially through all of these tools and collaborate in that way. So no longer are you bound by your geography, by where you live, or who you know in your immediate surrounds. Kind of the entire world is your oyster.
Would you like to perhaps comment on using it in other ways in the workplace? I know you've just mentioned about collaborating. What about something like LinkedIn, which perhaps CAT learners might not be so aware of, but it might be a good idea to start preparing for something like LinkedIn or using Twitter for a professional purpose?
Absolutely. Well, LinkedIn is an application that is very, very slanted and biased towards careers and the professional. And what it allows you to do is, in that space, basically creates this online CV. But it's more than a CV, because it's not just a statement of your capabilities, your skills, and your past experience and education. It also then becomes a reflection in terms of who else is connected to you, of your experience, your real experience in a particular field. And one of the neat things that LinkedIn allows you to do is to endorse other people's skills.
Yeah.
So you may have a skill in terms of, I don't know, let's say database design. Now, it's one thing for you to say, I have a skill in database design. It's another thing for the lead programmer at Microsoft South Africa to have endorsed your skill in database design, because suddenly that other person's voice is lending weight to your own statement. And so LinkedIn becomes a very, very powerful networking tool, but also becomes a very, very powerful selling tool for yourself in terms of your professional skills. People tend to frown if you are sharing lots of personal information in that LinkedIn space. That's not what it's for. Do that on Facebook, maybe.
Yeah.
But certainly, if you want to put your professional foot forward, that's a great place to start creating networks of people that you trust, and that, more importantly, other people trust, so that when they say something nice about you, it carries weight.
Yes. So I think that's quite an interesting slant that Dylan has brought in, that there are certain social media that you can use for more serious things, and others that you might use for your personal life, for your social life.
Yeah. And many people say that Twitter is Facebook for grown-ups. I don't know how true that statement is, but Twitter is also, it's an incredibly powerful tool for you to share your ideas.
Yes.
And the more followers you have, or the more that your tweet gets retweeted, it kind of lends credibility to what you're saying. That other people want to hear what you say means that what you say presumably is of some value.
Okay.
Yeah.
But now we obviously need to talk about the negative aspects, or some of the negative aspects of social interactions, social media.
Yeah.
Go for it. Go mad.
Well, for all the positives, we've touched on some of the negatives, being this privacy issue and protecting your privacy and your dignity, and when to draw the line. But I think social media can also be a time waster. It can also be something that is enormously tempting just to go and procrastinate on. And I mean, there are many companies that I know of that have banned social media for that very reason, because it can sap away a lot of your productivity if you allow it to. Obviously, it can be a huge boost to productivity, but it can do the opposite thing. And this really kind of speaks to the nature of all technology. I don't believe that any technology is inherently good or evil, bad or good. It's what we do with it. But I think it also has the ability to take the place sometimes of real relationships. We can think we're connecting with other people, but we're doing it because it's online and because the interaction is necessarily quite limited. It can be relatively shallow. And if we're not careful, I think we can invest a little bit too much time and energy in the online relationships that we have and not enough in the offline relationships that we have. And I think that that's a really important balance to strike as individuals, as people. We're not just workers. We're not just social media avatars. We are real people with real lives and real feelings and real hearts, and we need to have real connections with real people, with people that we see and sit down with and have coffee with face to face. And I think that there is a danger of all of this online interaction thinking that we don't need any of that other stuff. I've got 200 friends on Facebook. Do you really? Are they really your friends? Are they really the people that you're going to be able to turn to when your whole life is falling apart? And so just to keep that in mind and not to lose sight of the importance of flesh and blood and of that physical human contact sometimes.
Yes. I think we know this. I think we know you can go further, you can go faster with some lovely social media, with some technology. But we also know that we need to keep it real, we need to keep things human. And so we're coming down to that old question of balance again. But most of all, I would urge you to be careful, to have fun, but to make sure that you are safe in the way you use social media. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.